Did you listen to the episode of lore that I instructed that you must listen to?
I think so. If it was called A Family Affair, I'm pretty sure that was the one. I've listened to it already 4 times at least.
Why are you listening to it 4 times? Did you think they would say something different?
No, I zone out, especially because I like to listen while I'm driving, but sometimes I also start thinking. And then I get lost, and I'm like
your own thoughts are way louder than Aaron Mackey's voice. So you're
sure.
Wait, what did he fucking say?
Absolutely.
That happens to me a lot too, with everything. I listen to books on audio tape too, and I'm like, well, I just missed a whole chapter. I think I don't really know what's happening.
That's why I have to go back and listen to the MFM girl sometimes. You know how we were just talking about boxes of moths. I'm like, how did I miss this one? Because I could have just zoned out while they were talking about this fear of boxes of moths. I don't know.
And you don't want to rewind because you're like, I'm sure it wasn't anything. And then it's like, oh, so important. You didn't hear about the box of moths.
Speaking of, I have the hardest time rewinding anyways because whatever I use to listen to podcasts, it's not simple. So if I want to rewind, I have to actually use my finger and go back and forth where I want it to go. And I don't have the steadiest finger. I don't know why. Like right now, it looks pretty steady. But when I put it on my screen...
and you almost went cross-eyed looking at your finger. What was that about? I've never seen that before.
And when I put it on my screen, then my finger gets all like zippity-doo-dah, wicked finger. And, so I just restart the whole episode and listen to it over again.
No, I got you. I have to do that too. I have the 15-second thing. I can hit 15 seconds back. And then I just hit it until it sounds like, oh, I heard this. So yeah, this is where I start. Anyways, so for everyone listening, if you've never heard of the Lore podcast before, it's an amazing podcast. It's this guy named Aaron Mackey who tells just fantastic stories. He's a really good storyteller, and I'm not going to do a commercial for him because he doesn't need it. But this last one was so incredible to me just because it's a true story. In the late 1800s, it was 1875, and I'm not going to retell the story, but it's this Eddy family, and these 11 kids, and some of them had special powers. The mom had special powers. The dad's an asshole, and he sends the 4 oldest off, and they tour around just like the Fox sisters did, and a bunch of other people. The only thing is people keep testing their abilities, and they can't seem to figure out how they're pulling these tricks off. And then they come back home years later. Dad's passed away. Mom dies. They're devastated, I guess. Now they're going to go home. So they go home. They open up an inn. Then they're doing seances for everybody that comes and stays at their inn. And this investigator from Washington, legit, a badass detective, really solving crimes just for in his free time, while he goes on holiday, he's like, I'm going to go to this inn in Vermont and I'm going to see what these people are up to. And if I can figure it out, that would be a cool thing too, if you could figure out how, I would never know where to begin on figuring out how, David Blaine or David Copperfield do anything.
No, but this guy had it right. He's like, you know what? They're running an inn. I'm just going to go and hang out with them and pay to stay. Because if I hang out with them long enough, I'm sure to find out what the hell's happening. And that's exactly what this guy does.
Yeah, he was like, I'm so smart. I'll find out what they're using to pull their tricks. Yeah, right. He hangs out with them for I don't know, fucking 3 weeks or something.
Yeah, he stays there forever.
He claims that he saw over 100 apparitions. I mean, can you imagine? We've been investigating the paranormal for 10 years. I've seen 2 or 3 apparitions. This dude, in 3 weeks of hanging out with this Eddy family, he sees apparitions from different ethnicities. They spoke apparently in different languages. I guess he documented this. Dude ends up leaving Vermont being I think these cats are legit.
Yeah.
I think they're just legit mediums, that are just super powerful. It sounds powerful to me. I mean, I don't see the fucking Long Island medium pulling apparitions up on stage. Right. She just tells you what she's hearing in her own mind. So it blew my mind because I was like, how come in the 1875 time frame, there were mediums that could pull spirits up onto the stage with them and be like, look, entire audience, here's this ghost right here. But you don't see that shit now.
No, you don't.
How come? Where are those people? I tried to look on the internet and I saw like a claim here or there that somebody like hung out with these people and figured out how they were doing it. But they didn't necessarily explain how they got to see a full body apparition, whoops, and that could speak in another language and stuff either. So I was like, how come that was possible then and not so much now? Or is it? And then these people just don't want to like come forward. And I mean, what is that?
Well, okay. Wendy, and by the way, you're Wendy, and I'm Chris, because we never, said who we were.
Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome to me retelling a story.
So I'm in New England, and Wendy is not. I'm
in the desert with the aliens and the snakes and the scorpions.
Right. And it goes along well with our Creatures of the Night podcast because it is 11 o'clock my time at night.
Not so much my time, but yeah.
So we are not only investigating the creatures of the night, but we are ourselves the creatures of the night.
I love the nighttime. Don't you?
I do.
I love to take walks outside in the night. Like, whenever it seems like everybody else is like asleep and stuff. I'm such a creep. And like,
I don't, but
oh, I didn't say I did it. No, I'm too much of an old lady now. I used to as like, younger adults before children and whatnot. I mean, I used to like get in my car and go on drives just around town because I was so fascinated by what it like looked like at night.
No, what I used to enjoy most of all about my probably late 20-ish years was when we would go out ghost hunting at night. It would be like we're planning for it all day long. So it's like I need to get some sleep and then I need to get my coffee at this time because we're going to go out in the woods at night.
This is like a level of like that you have to be aware because you're in the woods in Tennessee and 10 years of going into the unknown and always making you go first as well. Yeah. It's got some good stories along with it. But anyways, that lore episode was just impressive to me because I'm like, where are these people that can do these kind of tricks? And like, how come I didn't live in that time where I could be like, I'm hanging out at the Eddy's house forever until winter comes because I'm not staying in Vermont in the winter.
Nope. Aaron Mahnke does a lot on New England. Yeah, I mean, he does a lot.
Because he's from your neck of the woods.
But
too.
He definitely is from my neck of the woods. So I get a little special excitement when I hear a town that's, within reason, relatively nearby.
That you can go and explore. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I need you to drive to Vermont and see if this farmhouse still exists.
Vermont. We were driving to Lake Champlain, and we drove through Vermont. Remember those pictures I took were just astounding. The fog and the mountains. Gosh. It was just incredible.
Like, not even real. It's ridiculous. The autumn colors and stuff there.
Yes, it was beautiful. It was no kidding. I took pictures with my cell phone, and it was like, the guy that paints like light windows or whatever, Thomas Kinkade. I just took that photo.
I can't believe you knew that.
My mom was a fan. Thanks, Mom.
Okay, so we wanted to do this podcast because we just can't get enough about talking about the paranormal. And
10 minutes later of talking about ourselves.
Oh, yeah. When we're not talking about our moms, then we're talking about the paranormal. We have a website. You can go to IBelieveInGhosts.com to see like the cases, the like investigations, what we kind of call paranormal experiences.
Yes. They are experiences.
Well, they are. They're extreme experiences, and we love them and appreciate them. And in no way, shape, or form are we scientists or fucking detectives or anything. But we go out and we make our notes.
We're closet detectives, though. Come
we
on.
are. I mean, like, we're really overthinking this stuff constantly. I feel like we have some justification of trying to, like, piece some shit together. But it's hard to do just the two of us. That's why we're doing this podcast.
So I want to kind of go into the story that I researched for this podcast. Now, this isn't a place that either of us have ever been. I've never left the country. Wendy's been to Canada.
Does that count?
So this is something that was very interesting to me. And it's another, how Wendy started off talking about lore. That's a podcast that we both really enjoy. I actually saw this on an episode of Destination Truth years ago because Destination Truth has been canceled. It's long and gone, which is really, really sad. The host, Josh Gates, has moved on to other projects, and he's still out there on the Travel Channel. He does Expedition Unknown, and I think he's moved on to even something else that's a little bit more family friendly. Like, the thing about Destination Truth was he would go to very remote locations, and there would be some scary situations presented to him because of where he would be. And
like, what do you mean? Like, really sketchy ass people, or?
Sure. Because in order for him to interview the eyewitnesses, there would have to be some negotiation between him and those eyewitnesses in these remote third world kind of locations. So he'd have to pay them off, and whatever it is that they want, that's what he'd pay them off. I mean, some of them just wanted candy, and they seem to be like super cool, but some of these other people were doing hardcore ritualistic sacrifices in front of him. I can't imagine what he was having to pay them.
Probably just had to upgrade his candy from like Jolly Ranchers to like bring in the Starburst. I would want chocolate if it was me, but sure. Like, they probably would melt wherever he's at. So
okay, so the story that I prepared is regarding the cursed and haunted cannibal village of Fiji. Don't you love it?
Listen, I want to put this out here. If there was nothing else to eat,
people, you'd do it.
I mean, like, stuck in the mountains from a plane crash. Yeah, I would fucking do it.
That's rough. That's a tough decision because, I mean, I'm going to be a really horrible person here and say that I can't remember the name of that particular incident, but it was like a soccer team, right, where they were stranded on a mountainside.
Yeah.
And some of them actually made it out, but weeks later, like they should have perished. But they did resort to cannibalism, but they were hurt. They were hurt, and they decided to eat those that died. These were their friends.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't like kill people for it, but I mean, like, I think I could do it.
If they're dead.
I think. I mean, I don't know.
You never know. You never know what you're going to have to do when you're faced in that situation. And this story isn't like we're faced with a situation.
It's not a have-to situation.
Nope.
There were chickens somewhere around. Okay, tell this story.
The Fiji Islands, located east of Australia in the South Pacific Ocean, were once known as the Cannibal Islands because cannibalism was so widespread. I know that was a tough one to get.
I was like, I wonder why. That's so crazy.
Okay. If you had any questions, the natives compared human flesh to the taste of roasting a big pig.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Okay, so one Methodist missionary, Reverend Thomas Baker, was a victim of these cannibals. Have you heard the story already?
No.
Oh my God, okay.
I don't look up a whole lot of cannibalism stories, but...
No, but this...
If it's your thing, then let's go.
Damn it, we're going to have to rename this podcast because it's Cannibals of the Night.
That sounds good.
Reverend Baker was...
I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of listeners, though.
No.
So tell me about this Reverend.
All right, so back to this. Reverend Baker was sent by the London Missionary Society in 1859 to help reform the natives in what is today the Western Division of Fiji. Today, the Museum of Fiji, located in Suva, has the last letter that the Reverend Baker wrote to his wife. And in it, he states, "I do not fear the natives, and we hope to bring them good." It starts off on such a good note. Maybe I shouldn't have told you the name of my story. Maybe I should have just gone into it and then just been like, bam, here it is.
Well, now I'm actually questioning, was he lying to his wife to not scare her? Or was he like, did he show up and everybody was so nice to him and they were inviting him to like a dinner party and he was like, these people are so great. Oh yeah, let me just write my wife a note real quick. Tell him how nice you guys are.
He showed up at the island of Fiji, right? They put some beautiful native flowers around his neck and one on his head. They fed him some delicious pork off the island, or so he thought it was pork, right? They had a bonfire. Everything was cool.
Remember, they can't wait to see you tonight. Make sure you put this olive oil all over your skin because beautiful in the sun.
You glisten.
What you need, yeah.
It smells nice on you, sir.
Sprinkling like salt on his shoulder. What was that?
It's for good luck.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, Reverend Baker was an incredibly bad judge of character.
You don't say.
Baker met a local chief and presented the chief with a British comb as a gift. Then he tried to persuade the cannibal chief.
I think they just figured it out. But maybe he was giving him like where do you think we got this comb from? The last British person we ate. You don't see any of them running around here, do you?
No, it was the Reverend. It was the.
Did I hear you wrong?
The guy that was,
he gave him a British comb.
Yeah, sorry, let me back up. It was the Reverend. He gave the chief the comb. It was a gift to him. Maybe it was, you know what? I bet it was just some shit he had in his back pocket, and he's like, I gotta give this guy a gift, right? I'm meeting him for the first time. He's the chief. And he says it says it right here. He tried to persuade the cannibal chief into converting into Christianity. Like, immediately. He's like, here's a comb. What are your thoughts on our Lord and Savior?
Oh my gosh. Did you see my face like turning to shock? I heard this story. I mean, I heard that little tidbit all wrong. I thought the chief was trying to give him like do you see? There's no British people and I have this British comb. But it's the other way around. He was giving him a comb so that he would become a Christian. Well, you know what? I went to a lot of Christian churches. They never gave me shit, so.
Okay. You know what? It's because you're not a cannibal. If you were a cannibal, you probably would have gotten combs. British combs.
Maybe I should have stood up and said, you know what? I kind of think paganism is right. Maybe they would have gave me something to try to sway me.
Well, yeah. They might have. Apparently in this situation, the chief was not interested in that shit. So, oh my God, it gets worse. So Reverend Baker...
I'm envisioning that he wasn't much of a, comber anyways.
Well, he probably had his own comb at this time. I mean, he's the chief of fucking cannibalism on Fiji. He's got something to brush his own hair, right?
I assume there's some, dreadlocks involved, or there's just some long, wavy hair that he just don't care. The big waves going on. You don't brush that shit. It froze out.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, I think, first of all, Reverend Baker was, once again, bad judge of character. And then trying to immediately convert him to Christianity, probably not the best thing to do. Maybe he should have waited until after dinner and a few drinks to, hey, what are your thoughts? But he didn't. He's like, here's a comb. Let's do this. And by the way, Chief wasn't interested, at all. So, because Chief wasn't interested, Reverend Baker decides that he wants his sweet comb back.
Wait.
That's right.
Oh, he deserved what he got. No, I'm just playing.
But here's the thing. I guess the Chief was like, what do you mean you just gave this to me? So he went to grab it out of Chief's hand, and he accidentally touched the Chief's hand as he was grabbing the comb. And in Fiji, that's a threat. That's an offense. So you don't touch the cannibal chief's hands. I mean, why the fuck would you?
I think if you knew what he enjoyed having for dinner, you probably wouldn't want to touch him.
It's weird. It is weird. But this is what this man did. He wrote a letter to his wife saying, no, honey, these people, they're cool. I'm going to go and talk to this guy in the woods. And that's what he did. Went, found the guy in the woods, gave him a comb, tried to talk to him about Christianity. Guy in the woods was not cool. Guy in the woods was the chief of cannibalism. And yes, the Reverend Baker ended up touching him. So it created a problem. Okay, so this is also kind of weird, but remember, this is the 1800s. The chief gave a whale tooth to his followers, basically sealing the plot to kill the Reverend and his entire party. Yes.
Wait a minute.
Oh yeah, it was a whale's tooth.
I hate to keep interrupting you, but we have no idea why whale tooth equals murder.
No, but I'm gonna have to retract my Mother's Day gift to you. So if you get it, just send that shit right on back. Now that I know, whale's teeth, not good.
I mean, okay.
I mean, so in 1867, cannibalistic tribesmen from, and this is very historic right here, northern Nabatatautau. No, it can't be. I think it's northern Nabatatautau mountain village Hacked up his body and the bodies of his party and threw their bodies into a ravine. Then later on, they went back to recover the remains and skinned them in order to eat them.
Why did they throw them down the ravine to begin with?
Well, you know, they're better when they're dried out.
Get a little flavor from the dirt.
Guess.
There's really good spices in the earth down there.
Maybe they do season the earth. Maybe they just wanted them to bleed out.
I don't know. I've never eaten anyone before. Maybe, I doubt, I'm assuming there was an easier way. You put body parts on hooks. You don't just throw them in a hole and be like, we'll be back for that later. We like ours like beef jerky, not like fresh.
These guys did. I don't know how they survived, because I'm sure they would have gotten some kind of disease. But, and to add some more weirdness to this whole story, one witness laid testimony to saying that they ate everything except for their boots.
Wait, so they ate clothes, you mean? Or they ate, if they say except for your boots?
Hey, I wasn't there.
I think that's like an extreme description is all. Whoever they got that from is just like country as fuck. And it's like, man, I think they ate everything but those boots. And like they did not eat their clothes.
They probably used their clothes to like start the fire.
They didn't like gnaw on their cheekbone, you know? Like, I think he's just exaggerating.
I don't know. When you get some real good roasted chicken, you gotta eat on the bone to get all that meat off. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know. Suck on that wing until it's clean.
So I don't know if they were just so hungry they were just like, I can't wait, and they just went right through the clothes. I mean, no. They were missionaries. They weren't wearing like leather or mail or chain or anything like that. They were wearing like.
Do you think linen. They even cut them up with their clothes on?
Probably.
No. I feel like this was just a saying.
Okay.
And who is this witness anyway? If they ate everybody that was with the Reverend too, and then do we know, is this the first set of people they ate, or like they've been eating people? Because the fact that they threw them down the ravine and then went and got their parts, like, man, we could have ate that. It's almost like it dawned on them afterwards.
I don't know if this is further on into my story here, because it's been a while since I wrote this. But I do know from what I read, the people of the village were deemed cannibals well before Reverend Baker had shown up. And
did Reverend Baker know this going in?
Yes.
And he's like, I'm going to save these people.
Basically,
I'm going to tell them that cannibalism isn't right through a comb.
From what I understand, yes. Here's the thing, this tribe of people, they're sort of in the forest in Fiji, and Fiji refuses to help them. They will not send them any medical supplies or military aid or food or anything because of all of the cannibalistic shit that tribe did back in the 1800s. Fiji's basically said, double middle fingers to you guys. Fucking figure it out on your own. You're screwed.
Just waiting for them to die out. Like, man, I can't wait until that cannibal crew is over with, man.
Yeah. So this is like a big known thing in Fiji.
You can't approach those people. You can't give them shit. They don't want to listen.
Wendy, if we ever go to Fiji, we are never going to this area.
Oh, we're not going to Fiji. This is
I'm just saying. I mean,
you just can't be too sure.
We might become rich and famous, and we might go exploring, but
there are other islands. We'll
Fiji, no.
No. Off the list.
Off.
So the witness, man, mind blowing. Is it a tribesman that was like, man, I'm not down with all this cannibalism, and then ratted people out? Or was it I don't know, some other missionary that they let live? Like he came to visit a couple times before, and then he just goes and tattles on them.
I'm going to go with the tattletale tribesman idea. I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah.
So up until recent years,
we're just making up parts of the story.
The 200 members of the Nabatatao community believed that their ancestors' act of cannibalism on this particular missionary has placed a curse upon them. 3 of the chief's sons died mysteriously soon after Reverend Baker was murdered. Even years later, this community, which is located in the inland mountain on the main Fiji island, is deprived of lush vegetation that dominates the rest of the region. They struggle to find enough food. The village has neither a school or roads to even medical equipment. When they have applied for these services, they have been denied, which I just told you that Fiji's fuck to the no. Within this community, many family lines have died out. No one from the community have received an education beyond high school, and the village children who do attend school must walk 25 miles on foot through the jungle to the nearest school. One of the village elders believe that the other Fijians want to punish them for what has happened. Actually, a lot of them feel like they're being punished for what the cannibal tribe did to the Reverend at that time. Whether or not any of that is due to the curse, I have no idea. In my opinion, it seems more likely that giving up this lifestyle and moving to mainland would be the best plan, but they don't have the funding to do so. And I don't know the background, if it's in regards to any kind of political aspects in Fiji, but maybe the Fiji government wants them to go away, which is something I was touching on earlier.
So they think that their whole town is cursed because they have this really unfit living situation, and they had unhealthy people that were dying. Maybe it's because you're eating people.
Maybe stop that. Just don't do that anymore.
Maybe definitely stop throwing your food down a fucking ravine and then going and getting it and eating it. And
Wendy! Oh my God, you just solved it. They died mysteriously?
No, they got big. Whatever spices you're getting from rolling it down that hill, stop that.
That wormy, gross human flesh that they were just eating on. That's probably why they died. But needless to say, in 2006, so
whoa,
just a few years ago, just a couple,
12 years ago, but yeah.
The village. So this is still an ongoing situation there.
No, you are kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. This is a good story.
They're still descendants of this tribe.
Oh yeah.
But I'm assuming they're not eating people anymore.
So hang on. In 2006, the village held a ceremony called the Rite of Reconciliation, with the intent to make amends with the descendants of the Reverend Thomas Baker. They returned Thomas's Bible, his comb, and the soles of his shoes to the Baker family. Now, why do you think in 2006 they're like, we gotta do something?
How the fuck do they even still have that shit? Did they just dig up a comb? Somebody find a fucking comb, because we've got to give it back to this family.
They kept that shit.
So that we can get a faster route to our kids' school. Because I'm tired of, walking at 25 miles
I can't deal
or
with
whatever.
this anymore.
I got laundry to get to. I don't have time to deal with this.
The cannibals kept his comb, man. He was all about it. Thomas Baker.
They passed it down.
This is it. So they released balloons made by the descendants of Baker and gave 100.
What?
Yeah, Reverend Thomas Baker.
No. I don't think you said that right. You said they released balloons made
by the descendants of.
By. What did I hear from? I mean, I'm just not putting anything past these people. I didn't know if they were human balloons.
Oh man. Oh,
okay.
That would have been a really, really, really dark twist. And then in 2006, so they released balloons, and then they gave 100 sperm whale teeth to 11 of the remaining descendants from the Methodist Missionary. This was sort of like their peace offering. They were asking for forgiveness in hopes of receiving, help from the Fiji government. So besides the curse on the village, obviously, it's haunted. Many people have reported hearing crying, screaming, and have seen ghosts in the area over the years. Investigators traveling to the island were featured on my show that I was just talking about that was canceled, Destination Truth. They visited one former cannibal village where they heard noises and saw an unexplained light mass in the same cave that had an oven that was used to cook the victims. The oven's still there because, why not?
What kind of oven is this? I mean,
it's a human cooking oven.
Like what you cremate people in.
Kind of, but it's in a cave, so it's not like your oven in your kitchen, but it looks kind of like the same idea, but they're not cooking turkeys. They were cooking people.
Well, I couldn't fit bodies in my oven, so I understand that. But I just mean, is this what is it? Like those pizzas that you can make and they're fire roasted ovens? Is it
yes.
a stone oven?
It's kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's like a stone.
Kind of oven.
Those would have been some tasty people, is all I'm going to say.
Fire roasted stuff like that.
Love fire roasted people.
Such a good woody flavor.
Yum. Okay, so back to
So they gave their murder whale teeth to the descendants of this reverend and of the church to try to make it all better.
Yes. Yes, they did. And then...
Okay, what else?
And that's pretty much the last of the historical stuff there, but then that's when, like, investigators are starting to kind of come by to kind of see what the hell's going on with this place. And then Destination Truth shows up. They find the cave with the oven that was used to cook victims, and the weird thing was that it didn't look like operations had stopped. It looked like it was still being used. I don't know if they tested any of the blood or whatever they found around the oven. I mean, who knows? It's an oven. Maybe they're like, yeah, I go and cook my chickens on it.
Yeah, just talk to you about how good pizzas are made that way.
Right,
so,
exactly.
I mean, like, I'm sure somebody in the village is like, well, go use the oven in the cave. I mean, like, to go cook your chicken or whatever.
Hopefully that's, I mean, they are known for being cannibals. So, I mean, it could be that somebody's still doing
Well, they don't have to be cooking bodies in it. I'm saying they could be cooking other things in it.
I don't remember actually seeing a cemetery while I was watching the show. But anyways, moving right along. They recorded an EVP of a scream and a voice in the area where Reverend Baker lost his life. They also captured on video an axe moving on its own. And the axe. Oh, I'm sorry. It was the axe that killed Reverend Baker. They caught it moving on its own while they were there. So I thought that was very interesting. Also, one of the investigators, they were touched, and you can see their hair being moved at the same time. She feels it, like they recorded her, and her hair just kind of like moves on its own. She's got it like to the side, and it just like moves on its own, like somebody is deliberately moving it, and she like freaks out. She feels something touching her, so she moves like right after. It's a really cool video.
That's awesome.
Also, they located an altar. Oh, and that's where the investigators of the show saw a substance that looked like blood. Sorry, not at the oven. They saw something that looked like blood at an altar. So they are probably practicing some kind of worship still. I mean, they are a remote tribe out in the jungle. This is probably still their belief.
They probably downgrade it from like sacrificing humans to like chickens or like a rabbit. Who knows?
Could have been anything. I don't know what the blood was. She freaked out because clearly she saw that it was blood, but it could have been anything at that point. Honestly, when you watch it, I don't know. I mean, they could be really good actors. They seem like they're more civilized than their 1800 family members. They're from the 1800s. But yeah, so there is some alleged haunted activity going on there around the area where Reverend Baker lost his life, and it seems to be pretty high activity. And I thought that was interesting. The history, the dark history that surrounds this whole story is what fuels a haunting like this, in my opinion. It would be super cool to go and investigate it. However, I don't know if I really want to go onto a cannibalistic island,
I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't think I trust these people.
You want to go. That's what you're about to say, right? How did you know I wanted to go?
You can barely come visit me in Arizona without worrying about where we're going to eat.
No.
So, I mean, like, with your gluten allergy, can we really go to Fiji?
No.
I
would have to live off of the Nutri-Grain bars that I purchased.
Yeah, for people are gluten-free. Okay, you can't even eat people. That's just, you have nothing fun you can eat.
I know. Like, in an apocalyptic situation, I'm screwed. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I've thought about this a lot. Like,
I'm going to eat your butt.
I'm going to be nutritious for you.
The way I can carry you with me always, Chris. It's just about love.
I just have
Don't worry about it.
Lots of jars of mayonnaise because it's egg. It's egg, right? I don't need what else am I gonna? I can't do bread. I can't do bread sandwiches. So just give me the mayonnaise and a spoon.
Oh my god!
I like mayonnaise, so at least
disgusting.
I can sustain.
You like mayonnaise that much? There's people that find
not
mayonnaise
that much
completely disgusting.
Yes, they do, but I'm talking about an apocalyptic situation. There's zombies running around. I can't go outside. Thank God I thought to buy jars of mayonnaise.
Nobody's going to be fighting you for that mayonnaise, so I think you'll be fine.
I had some sort of work function coming up where I was going to have to make all this tuna salad, but not anymore. So now, I mean, I'm sure I have thousands of cans of tuna, but you can't eat that sort of shit because of mercury poisoning. So I can have a can of tuna maybe every, once a week? I could live for a while.
I think you could, actually. I think that
I could live.
Yeah, that's actually kind of smart. Listen, about this haunting.
Oh.
Did the voice that they heard, did they have any idea like what it said, or they just thought they heard a voice? I'm assuming it's probably a man then.
They absolutely did. However, I didn't take that good of notes.
So you don't know what they said.
So
it wasn't
I don't know what he said.
I just wanted my comb back.
That's what he said. Where the fuck are my boots?
I didn't have any other fucking comb, and I like combing my hair.
You know what, though? That could be why it's haunted, because they took that shit off the island and gave it to the descendants. So now that the shit's been moved and the soles of his shoes have been moved, now he's like, well, what the fuck, man?
Where's my comb? No, I imagine that it was probably haunted before. Oh, no, they had already given the comb back before Destination Truth went there, right? And they had these experiences. Well, like you said, they weren't the only people that were ever, eaten there.
Nope.
I'm sure they actually probably executed all their people in the same area.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that reverend's there, or if he's the one that's necessarily cursing it. I think the descendants that are there now with that tribe are all focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
They should have kept that comb and accepted Jesus Christ into their heart. And then maybe there's nothing that would have saved them. I'm pretty certain that land is haunted, and it's always going to be haunted.
I'm pretty sure
if they want better roads, they better start paying some fucking taxes.
No doubt.
I'm sure that's actually probably the problem. I don't really know, though. So, if we ever get a listener from Fiji, don't judge us. So we don't know.
That's true. Thank you for noting that.
We have actually no clue. But I'm going to assume your area is probably pretty fucking haunted.
Yeah.
It's not even the cannibalism thing, just the simple fact that you murdered somebody. I guess there is some religions for sure that focus on the fact that if the body is not whole after death or whatever, that it's not at rest. But I think just being murdered, period. Like you said that there was an axe, so they must have don't you think they killed him with the axe and then cut his body up? Or do you think they started cutting him up with him still alive?
Oh, I hope not.
'Cause fuck.
That would be really fucking gruesome and dark.
Was they started from the bottom and worked their way out? At what point do you think you would pass out?
Ooh, shit. I mean, I don't know. It was a dude, so fairly early. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. All I know is there was only one witness to the deaths, and all they claimed was that they ate everything except the boots. So I don't know.
We just know, is it 100% true? No
these
way,
were
man.
Cannibalistic people. I would assume that they were very barbaric, and they probably beheaded the man and then ate his corpse. I don't think that they would have made him suffer. That's usually a psychological kind of thing.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think that they just went right for it. They're just like, nope. Done. I got this whale tooth and I want to wear it around my neck, and I can't until you're dead. So off with your head, whale tooth, necklace on. God, that's really wrong. I shouldn't say any of those things. I have no idea. I'm just spitballing here, and
Well, what we're getting at is that I don't know what we are getting at necessarily. I just don't think that it necessarily had to do with the fact that I guess there is some level of disgrace after death. So you're murdered, your head's chopped off, and you're dead. And then in our minds, your soul leaves your body. This is our theory. And it's floating around. And then it's watching what you do to lay its body to rest. And then its family doesn't know what's going on. And there's a whole lot of distress there.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And so that's what keeps you kind of lingering. Are you serious? That's what you did to me? Are you going to tell my people what you did to me? And then, how you threw me down this ravine. Oh, now you're going to eat me? Oh, that's not cool at all. And so that kind of negative energy sticks around because they're so disappointed.
Going back to, I'm sorry that I'm skipping around here, but one of your earlier thoughts and questions revolved around, he had to have not been one of the first people murdered and cannibalized there because they were deemed a cannibalistic tribe. So other people, would have been cannibalized or murdered maybe in that same area. Well, one of the EVPs that the Destination Truth got was of a scream, and I believe it was a woman's scream. So that wouldn't make a lot of sense for it to have been Reverend Baker, as we all know, was a man.
Yeah, well, in that time period too. Well, I don't know why I'm saying yeah, but like I agree, that they were not the first ever to deal with this tribe, but like where'd that woman come from?
Right, exactly.
Because like what woman in that time period was traveling to the unknown like that? Was she traveling with other missionaries, like other people had tried this too? Or was she like one of their own?
Right, I was just going to get to that. I don't think many people were actually traveling to them at this time frame, so it must have been a sacrifice within their, and maybe she had done something where the tribe felt
that they felt like she deserved it. Yeah, like some kind of disgrace or whatnot, because that's so easy for women to do, right? In that time period.
She read a book.
And then so easily disregarded. Even though, like, I don't see you making babies.
Right.
Okay?
Guess what's on the dinner plate tonight, boys? Old Avery.
So they were probably doing this a lot. And I would suspect that their hauntings are not just from this reverend. And no matter how much the people of 2006 tribe that lived there that try to make it right with Reverend's family or people, you might just be barking up the wrong tree. Or just like, well, not to mention, did you say they were Methodists?
Methodist missionary.
Yeah, they don't care. They just forgive everybody for everything. I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they weren't holding a grudge. It's probably that woman that was in their tribe that was like, say what? I'm on the dinner plate tonight? That's unfair.
Right.
I did
what
your
the hell?
laundry this morning.
Oh, no.
You did me dirty. Don't try to tell me that I'm for the gods and I'm someone special. Like, they probably telling her all kinds of lies. That's just terrible. But this place, terrible. I think the simple remoteness of the way this place sounds would alone add to kind of like the fear factor of what the fuck. But to go back from our very beginning conversation of like in the 1800s here, late 1800s, here in the United States, that these mediums were so fucking powerful that they're just doing like regular seances, showing you hundreds of apparitions, and everybody's like, man, that was a good show, and just went home like it was nothing.
Right.
Where today, like, we would pay thousands of fucking dollars if you were telling me that David Copperfield was, I messed that name up, but David Copperfield, do you know who he is?
Oh, when I was a kid, I used to watch his specials would come on.
Forget all those David Blaines and Chris Angels. I like the OG, the original there. He's the cool and magical. If you were telling me that he was pulling apparitions out of like a closet or whatever, like this William Eddy guy was, I mean, I'd pay you $1,000 to see that. But the point of my story is, back in that remote period when like we didn't have the technologies and the distractions and stuff that we have now, and they're in the middle of Vermont doing these things. And then over here in this remote village of Fiji in 2006, like a big time jump, but you think about how remote it is. They say they don't have a whole lot of roads and it's really hard to get to them. Like, I think that remoteness is what's making things so strong and powerful. And I don't know how. Like I admitted, we're not detectives or scientists, but there's something to that elimination of like the electrical energy and the overpopulation or overstimulant of, smartphones and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
That is making like the haunting. So, because I think those mediums, I think that's exactly what they were. The way Aaron Mackey describes them is they had other kinds of powers, like they could make things levitate. I don't think they were making things levitate.
Right.
I think they had ghosts fucking picking things up.
Shit up.
Yeah. So like your Fiji town, like apparitions or whatever that they're seeing, the experiences that they're having that are so strong and intense, it's got something to do with it kind of being like this untouched, like, society.
Sure. Yeah. One more thing to add about that. There's a museum somewhere, and I assume that it's nearby, but I don't have that information. And the museum contains cannibalistic souvenirs, and that includes the soles of Reverend Baker's shoes. So I guess they were returned to the museum. An anthropologist at the museum states that one cannibal chief had a stone placed outside his hut every time he ate someone. And by the end of his life, there were literally hundreds of stones that were piled outside of his hut. So that happened a lot. And I was just adding that as a final note to the story. I know that that's kind of out of place based on what you were saying, but
No, like these people didn't feel at all. It shows that, after the whole Reverend thing, they weren't like, oh man, that was over the top what we did. Nope, they were
in it to win it.
Wasn't there a story on My Favorite Murder that there was somebody, he wanted to eat someone?
Yeah, it was a Japanese guy.
Yeah.
I just heard this story.
So My Favorite Murder is another podcast that we listen to, extremely popular. And then they had just had one that was like small guy, and he felt really like insecure about his small
Super
size.
Insecure. Oh my God.
So he was really obsessed with the idea of eating someone to be bigger and stronger.
At a very young age. Do you remember that? Like he was in kindergarten fantasizing about some kind of a beast that would eat humans, and so he...
Like a giant would eat,
Yes, it was like a giant. Yeah, exactly. So he became obsessed with the idea that if he ate other people, then he would become a bigger person.
So what if these tribes, like, you don't know if that's like, if they just really like the taste of people, or if they were trying to build off of other people's strengths.
I could have done more research on this.
It's just like that when we listen to the lore podcast and they tell us stuff. I mean, we're talking about the late 1800s, early 1800s. Are these really the best record keepers? I mean, like, again, who is this fucking eyewitness in Fiji, like, with the cannibalistic tribe? Can we really trust this person?
Some guy. I don't know.
And then
I have no idea.
Aaron Mahnke tells us that this, Washington, D.C. investigator is like, oh no, these people are legit. And like, as soon as I Google it, they give me somebody else's name who's like totally figured out how they were doing that. But it wasn't the exact same thing. So I feel like, whatever. I don't want to just like prove what Aaron Mahnke came up with, because I think he does do his due diligence on it. Whoops. That wasn't a word.
The due diligence. I do that too. That's what I did when I did the research on this story. My due diligence.
That's a crazy story, though. We're definitely never going to Fiji. So.
Okay, good. So we'll put that one on the map as a no-go.
What's so horrible? Like what I just said about like all you have to do is tell us there's something haunted there, and then I fall into that trap. I was totally not with you the whole time you were telling the cannibal story. I'm like, who would never want to see this place? And then as soon as you were like, they saw a light and they heard a voice, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yes. Her hair moved and she felt a touch.
Oh my God. I want my hair to move. I mean, I was like,
I know.
Now we must go there. I bet the flights are
I know,
cheap.
right? And nobody wants to go there. They said that they don't even want to help them. I know. I'm totally with you. It's like...
No, I bet we could be queens there with just like $25 or something. We
got it.
Yeah. You better bring them some good candy, because I don't want to get eaten, so.
Well, let's start off with the crappy candy first. What do you think? Smarties? Bring them some Smarties, see if that is good, and if it's not,
that's just
well, then
rude.
we move up. We move up to the betters. Because we want to save some of that shit for ourselves, too. Like, if we're in a panic, I'm going to want some of the good stuff. Not Smarties. I don't want the Smarties. That's the shit candy.
Yeah, I don't want to live off of mayonnaise like you do. So, and like, we'll save the Mayonnaise and the Starburst.
I love Mayonnaise.
I love Mayonnaise, man.
All right. So on that note, I think we're going to end this podcast with...
well, let's end it with giving a shout out to my paranormal peoples. Since this is about just trying to just start discussions and get people involved.
Sure, yeah.
I thought we would say, so like I'm a stalker on Instagram. And so I thought I'd give a shout out to some other paranormal groups. You follow paranormal groups on like your Instagram and whatnot. It's always cool to see what other people are doing.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I can't say this, you're going to have to help me. And I didn't write it big enough. Oh shit. I got to line it up. Okay. Do you see that word? Can you read that? Or is it?
Oh, Saginaw?
Okay. I'm going to write it really big. This is horrible. We should have practiced this before.
We don't practice.
Say that town.
Oh, Saginaw.
Saginaw Area Paranormal System. Follow us on our Spirit Emporium Instagram. And I just wanted to give them a shout out because they adopted a highway.
Did they? I love that.
That's how extreme they are. I think you have to go pick up trash on your adopted highway.
Oh, man.
Because they had to do that. But super proud of them for supporting the paranormal community. And they've got a legit sign in Michigan that says that this is their adopted highway.
That's super
and that's
cool.
just like the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen.
It says like their paranormal, it was adopted by the parent. Oh, that's so cool.
It says adopted highway, like MDOT, because they're Michigan. Adopted highway by, I'm not going to say it. You got it. Area Paranormal. Say their name one more time.
Saginaw.
Yeah, there you go.
That's amazing. Why didn't we do that when we were in Tennessee? Oh, wait, because first of all, litter is rampant in Tennessee. We would be out there forever cleaning those highways.
9 hours.
Every weekend.
Probably. But I think it said something about them having like a 2-mile stretch, and then they had to go out there and pick up trash. And I thought that's something different. You don't hear of paranormal societies or groups or whatever that are so worried about like cleaning up their hometown at the same time. So I thought that was
true. That's really good. That's a positive thing to add. Anyways, when do you see that? You don't ever see a paranormal group on a sign that's like, this is my highway?
Yeah, so what totally caught my eye is I was like, oh my gosh, does this mean this stretch of the highway is like haunted? Because of my selfish ass would only want to adopt the haunted area of the highway. I would call them up daily, the MDOT people, and then here it's ADOT, and be like, which stretch is haunted? Because I'll adopt that part and go clean up trash. But I am only motivated by the paranormal, like I said. That's the only way you're getting me anywhere.
That's funny.
But these people, they don't even know if this is haunted because somebody had asked them that. I read the comments like a good stalker does. And somebody asked them if they had investigated that area, and they said they had not yet, but now that puts a little idea in their head. So
yeah, for sure. I would definitely adopt an area that's near any of these lonesome looking cemeteries because I'm in New England and they're all over the place along the highway. Yeah. So I could definitely, but I just don't know if I could. I mean, New Hampshire's cleaner though too, so maybe I could do 2 miles by myself. I don't know. Do I have to do both sides of the highway or just one side?
I don't know how often you have to clean it. I mean, maybe I could just always schedule a trip up to help you out.
My once a year cleaning.
Make you walk those 2 miles on your own. There could be cannibals out there.
Okay. And on that note, I'm definitely not doing it until we decide that you can come out here and we can adopt it at the same time, because no.
So with that, as we sneak into the next day, I guess we'll call it quits for now.
Okay. So thanks for listening.
Sweet dreams.
Bye.
Bye.